It's vulnerable to ask for what you need. I don't know about you, but I tend to lean heavily on self-sufficiency and responsibility. I take care of things, I take care of others, I even take care of myself, like through therapy or journaling or all of those amazing and important things. But one area that I'm leaning into really heavily right now that's growing me and stretching me is asking for what I need or desire. This includes asking things of others, but also asking things of God, both of which are challenging because I'm often afraid of being let down or disappointed. I worry that my needs or desires will burden others or go unmet. And so I just take care of things myself because it's easier this way, right? Actually, no, it's pretty lonely at times. It's emotionally and it's mentally taxing. And just to be completely transparent, I'm pretty tired. Like, I need support and care too. And in this moment of vulnerability and transparency, I'm hoping that you'll relate. I want to ask you, like, when was the last time that you asked somebody to meet a need? Or when was the last time that you asked God for what you want? It reminds me of Mark chapter 10, when Jesus sees a blind man named Bartimaeus who is crying out, like, have pity on me, and people are kind of brushing him off, and Jesus is like, no, bring him to me. And then Jesus asks this in verse 51, what do you want me to do for you? The blind man replied, Rabbi, let me see again. Jesus said to him, go, your faith has healed you. And immediately he regained his sight and followed him on the road. I want to pause here and highlight something. Jesus' question to Bartimaeus. What do you want me to do for you? And I think it's interesting that Jesus asked this question because, like, shouldn't he know that? Like, he should know what it is that Bartimaeus wants or needs, but instead he chooses to ask, and I wonder why. I don't want to oversimplify it, but I think that it might be that he cares about what Bartimaeus wants. And I think that that's true for us. Like, Jesus cares about what we want. He wants to hear from us. Like, he cares about our desires and our hopes and our dreams and our longings. And yes, like our survival needs, but like also like our deep soul needs too, the things that we really long for deep down. And yet those things are so tender, and it's often so hard to ask for those things, for those needs to be met. Especially if you've experienced lack or scarcity, or when you've been disappointed or felt neglected, or you have levels of trauma. Like when you've asked for connection or for fill in the blank and you've been met with silence, or maybe you've been met with a no. And it's tough to want to re-engage with something so tender and vulnerable again. But I would love for us this week to imagine if Jesus were to ask us the question that he asked Bartimaeus, like, what do you want me to do for you? Would you be willing and brave enough to answer? Would you be vulnerable enough to acknowledge what you really want and to trust God with those things? And it's not just with God, like, it's with others too. If a trusted friend asked you, what would you like me to do for you? How would you respond? Is there a place where it would be appropriate and reasonable to ask somebody to help meet a need for you this week? And maybe it's as simple as saying, hey, I'm feeling really lonely. Could you give me a hug? Or maybe it's like, I'm struggling mentally and I just need someone to talk to. Like, I want to encourage you to go deeper with this, like not just the surface level or material wants, but like those tender heart and soul desires, like the deep hopes that often go unspoken, but we kind of harbor them and hold them. And it reminds me of Matthew 7 when Jesus says this in verse 7, ask and it will be given to you. Seek and you will find. Knock and the door will be opened to you. For everyone who asks receives, and the one who seeks finds, and the one who knocks, the door will be opened. Is there anyone among you who, if his son asks for bread, will give him a stone? Or if he asks for a fish, will give him a snake? If you then, although you are evil, know how to give good gifts to your children, how much more will your Father in heaven give good gifts to those who ask him? So, would you be willing to practice vulnerability this week by asking God and others for the things that you desire? To ask for support in the areas where you feel lacking. Look, I know that it's scary to let God in and to let others in. I know it's risky because vulnerability always is. But you aren't meant to carry these things alone, and your desires matter to God. And when you ask, you're not a burden. You're beloved. You're worthy of love. You don't have to earn it by being needless. So, my friend, would you ask this week? And may you be met by the love and the care that your heart longs for. Amen.